Live on Radio Row in Miami, home of Super Bowl 54. This hour brought to you by the wildest big game experience in Atlantic City, Wild Wild West at Bally's. Catch all the action on the largest screens in the East Coast, inside Atlantic City's largest sports book. Enjoy live music, tailgate bites, self-serve beer, and more. It's all going down at Atlantic City's Wild Wild West Casino. Get there for the big game experience, and we thank them for being a part of the Radio Row broadcast. All right, Leigh Steinberg is with us each and every year at this event, and he, we just asked him, how's things, and he says having a quarterback in the Super Bowl makes it a lot greater. He is the agent for Pat Mahomes. He's got another high-profile player in this year's draft that we will get to as well. A couple, but having a quarterback in the Super Bowl, how does it make things different? Because you're always here.
It makes things different because this event transcends normal hardcore sports fans and reaches out to America. And so if a player performs dramatically and the quarterback has the best chance, then once it's over, they go into a celebrity-making machine, which is early morning, late night talk shows, People magazine, and they transcend football fans to become a household name. So it has a profound effect. I remember Troy Aikman in '93 went on the field. He was a very good quarterback, and he came off and he was Troy Aikman in lights. So it really has a powerful effect.
Now, is Mahomes the kind of guy that it will embrace that enjoys that?
So he's got so grounded that,
yeah, because he seems like
he's very grounded. He very good values, faith-based, extremely good values, and not affected by the external stuff. Does he have fun with some of it? Yes.
You know, I remember seeing you and talking to you back in Minneapolis.
Minnesota, yeah.
And you had Pat coming out, and that was the time they'd made the switch.
I remember seeing him walking through the food court.
Yes.
At that place, the food court. Remember that?
Right.
And you were like, hey, there's Pat Mahomes. At that point, no one knew that he was going to be this Pat Mahomes. Maybe you did.
Remember, his first year he sat behind
Yeah.
Alex Smith.
Right.
So he saw one game.
And that was the thing. That was the year that he was making the switch. And you said, wait to see what he does, because they see it in him and they're ready to let him do it. Did you have any idea, really, that this quickly he'd be this guy?
No, because it takes time on the field for the game to slow down. And normally for a quarterback, each game they play, each year they play, they get better decision-making and better control over the game. So the fact that in his very first starting year he'd be MVP, no one could have anticipated that. We knew he was freakishly gifted. We knew he would be a great leader. We knew he could do things with the football I've just never seen. But 50 touchdown passes, no one would have predicted that. He actually was better this year, but the stats are not as gaudy. But he's doing football. Quarterback greatness is the ability to take a team to the Super Bowl and win it, and that's legacy.
Yeah, and these last couple of games where he's had to bring them back both times just kind of adds to, the whole allure of this is the best guy. His team is down, and he proves he's the best guy by basically bringing them all the way back, not once but twice in an elimination situation. It's got to be, if you're looking in the marketing sense, just perfect.
So if you're looking for a franchise quarterback, you want someone you can build around for 10 to 12 years. You want someone you can win because of rather than with. But very importantly, you want someone who, when they've thrown a couple interceptions and the crowd is booing and the game's getting out of hand and the center's looking at the quarterback like he's on hallucinogens, what does he do then? Can he adopt a quiet mind, compartmentalize, and elevate his level of play in adversity to take a team to and through victory? That's a franchise quarterback.
When you talk about a franchise quarterback, I think a lot of fans think they know what that phrase means. But in your world, as kind of Mike Gill just alluded to a little bit, marketing a franchise quarterback can be different from just being a franchise quarterback. And you touched on a few of those things. But if you want to elaborate a little bit on your standard list of the ideal quarterback to market, to be the number one guy in sports with endorsements, with what he does in charity, just everything, the full picture of an ideal client for you.
Patrick Mahomes.
There you go.
So
Who was it before that? Because he just
And what are all
burst
the
on the
qualities?
scene.
So
Yeah.
the quality is being grounded. The quality is having a charitable and giving heart. The quality is being able to deflect praise and embrace responsibility for what goes bad. It's being a leader. It's you don't have to think or worry about what Patrick Mahomes is going to do in an interview or what he's going to do in his personal life. It's all there. And he's mature. And so you look for all those things. But again, someone who offers hope and inspiration in what he does. So he's 15 and the Mahomes, is raising tons of money for kids in East Texas, West Texas, Kansas City.
You have another client now bursting on the scene here in Tua. I talked about the story from Minneapolis. I mean, is Tua the kind of guy where maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now we're talking about, hey, remember talking to you in Miami and Tua had all these qualities you just listed. Does he have those, and can he be a guy like Mahomes? And to a certain extent, how much does it help for Tua now to have Mahomes be a client you have that he can kind of pick the brain of?
It's helpful because mentoring is always helpful. There's a secret language that quarterbacks speak to each other, which is something that only someone who's been through scouting and been on the field can really understand. But Tua, same thing, faith-based family. Family really important. Another mature, preternaturally mature person who really you can turn the keys of a team over to him.
How did that come about? Because he's had this injury. I mean, was he conflicted, or was it I know I'm going to do this? I mean,
He's very conflicted.
Because of the injury.
Well, he had a really close relationship with Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
Saban cried at the news conference, which is not something you really associate with him. He loved his teammates. He thought they had a great chance to come back and maybe go to the national championship. And he was not just one more player that went through Alabama. He was sort of the center of Alabama football.
Because that program had not been a quarterback factory. You have that position playing at that place.
Exactly.
It kind of superseded Alabama almost.
Exactly, because they've had, A.J. McCarron and a whole set of the quarterbacks, but they haven't been quarterback-driven, right? They've been more running back-driven.
Now, you're his agent, so you might be a little biased, but he came in before he knew you as tanking for Tua, the number 1 overall pick. Joe Burrow has this year, and now Tua almost feels like he's I don't want to say a forgotten man, but that he's not going to be the number 1 pick anymore. Do you think that he will be able to get his name back in that conversation? Is that something that he cares about?
Absolutely. You see him here. He's walking without crutches. He's you can't rush it, but he's moving along. He'll be able to work out for teams before, and then the narrative won't be injured to it. It'll be, is this the franchise quarterback we want? Now, it all depends who falls in love with a particular quarterback, because you see they have different concepts of a team took Mitch Trubisky and traded up for him above Patrick. It's individual teams selecting individually. So we'll see in the process what happens. But at the end of the day, he will return whether he goes first or not. I'm more concerned that he goes to a franchise with great ownership and stability, with a wonderful front office, with good coaching that knows how to bring him along.
So you don't want him to go number 1?
Well, I have a particular history with Cincinnati. I had their first-round draft pick in 1987, 1990, 1994, 1995, and 1999. And if I was representing astronauts, Mike Brown would be commissioner of the moon. I'm hopeful they fall in love with Joe Burrow.
I wanted to ask you about That is a great line.
my
Right? That is a
goodness.
great line. I wanted to ask you about Pat because how fun is this for you? I mean, you've got the guy who, like you said, he's here. He's about to potentially really take his legacy to a whole nother level, and he's still so young. He's also got a contract that's going to be coming up. Do you expect him to reset the bar as far as probably breaking records into what a quarterback can get, or any NFL player for that matter?
What I have to say about his contract is this. He has one. And we're worried about the game this week. I mean, in the totality of time, that'll take care of itself.
I'm sure that he, too, can probably, if he wins this game, too. I mean, it's got to be you said you have a quarterback of the Super Bowl. The winning quarterback of the Super Bowl makes things even greater.
Right. But I don't think, look, teams lock down their franchise quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And without much controversy, so we're not even thinking about it.
You mentioned Tua, obviously, as one of your guys. Who are some of the other guys that you're excited about in this class that will be working with you that our listeners would know about? Because this is a very, especially the Eagles, they need a wide receiver bad. There's a lot of great wideouts in
Well,
this.
we just happen to have one, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
And he runs routes better than you expect a college player to run. And he has an intuitive sense once he gets the ball for how to break. And he's a big play receiver. I think he'll be the first receiver taken off the board. And again, another wonderful young man, good character. But
There's a lot of good ones in this draft.
it's a big, rich draft filled with wide receivers, and there, could be 20 going in the first 3 or 4 rounds. So
And Howie really needs one.
it's a deep one. Well, my partner Chris Cabot grew up in Philadelphia. The fellow I present an award with, Cosmo De Nicola, is from Philadelphia. According to them, the printing press, opposable thumbs, electricity were all developed in Philadelphia.
Sitting with Leigh Steinberg here, and the Maxwells are coming up. You're always in Atlantic City for that. That's coming up sometime in March?
Yes. So it was so much fun to come to Atlantic City because Boardwalk Empire had just been on the air, and so I'm looking everywhere for trying to find the sites from there. Where's Nookie, and the rest of it. But it's really been a lot of fun back there. We gave the award last year to Zach Erst. We gave the award. It's a Steinberg De Nicola, which recognizes charitable and philanthropic things off the field. We gave it to Connor Barwin the first year, and then the day we were giving it to him, he got waived. And then we gave it to Chris Long the next year. So there'll be somebody worthy for us to hit Atlantic City with.
There you go.
Looking forward to that event always.
I never gamble, but I was in Atlantic City and I love the Dodgers, and so I bought a ticket with really good odds, and they never made it.
Well, because of the Astros.
Yeah.
Cheating.
Yes, so
Otherwise, that ticket would be a good one, Bob.
Yeah, that's right.
maybe if I am a lawyer.
It seems like philanthropy and charity work is very important to you, and if you want to talk a little bit more about that and what you do besides representing all these amazing athletes on the field, it seems like that's a top trait that you, and I'm sure you're involved heavily with that as well.
So as I said, we profile athletes. We look for the people that will set up a high school scholarship fund, retrace their roots, go to the collegiate city here in Miami. Edgerrin James endowed a full scholarship. Then we look for a charitable foundation like the 15 in the Mahomies. And so you're trying to profile. My dad had 2 core values. One was treasure relationships, especially family, and the second was to try to make a positive impact in the world and help people who can't help themselves. So I really judge more by what we're doing in the world. Anyone could negotiate contracts, but are you stimulating the best values in young men? Are you helping them towards second career? Are you helping them use the power of professional sports to make a difference?
So this offseason is very interesting. You got a lot of these older, very high-profile quarterbacks. Are they in good spots or bad spots? Would Leigh Steinberg want to be represented? It sounds ridiculous, but is Tom Brady in a good spot because of his age to do what he wants to do, or is he kind of in a tricky spot like Rivers? Are these guys that are in good spots or tough spots?
Well, you would have expected that some of these teams would have drafted a quarterback because it's an ideal spot to put a young quarterback because they get like Mahomes with Alex Smith. They get mentored, and you have them before you absolutely need them. And instead of rushing them in, having them not be able to read the field, they get their confidence broken. The team loses confidence in them. You have a opportunity. Someone will always want Tom Brady.
If he wants to play.
If he wants to play, and he doesn't show any signs of not wanting to play, and he's sort of defying time. Someone will always want Phillip Rivers. They'll want him, but then the contract's another matter. So part of doing this is knowing how to construct a contract that gives a player a lot of money, but doesn't hamper the team under the cap.
Okay, what about a guy like Derrick Henry in today's world? Is he in a good spot or a bad spot? Would you want to be representing Derrick Henry this offseason?
I mean, the fact that he just slaughtered teams.
Yes. Hey, but that position, people are like, that's great, but, or is that changing?
A player like that is a franchise player because they don't play football without him. And what you saw him do, how did he beat the Patriots? And how did he almost do it again to the Chiefs? So you're right. There was a devaluation of running backs that went on. There was one year where the highest running back was a third rounder. But the trend is changing now because obviously if the Chiefs don't run well enough on Sunday, they'll just tee off with that great defensive line on Patrick. So you've got to have that to really set up the game. And it's not coincidental that I think the 4 teams with the leading rushing average all ended up in the playoffs.
Well, with the one of the things we're going to hear a lot of talk about coming up here is the whole CBA. The potential for a 17-game season. What role do agents like yourself play in that in terms of maybe trying to advise your players?
So the first thing to advise them is save their money, but preventatively, because who would want to kill this golden goose? We're talking about a sport now that not only is the most popular sport by 3-1, it's the most popular television entertainment. And so that augurs for a really beautiful future, right? The only threat to football I see on the horizon, so my point is they ought to do that deal seamlessly behind the scenes. No one has a whole lot of empathy for billionaires and millionaires. In other words, keep that business private and get that done. The existential threat to football is the specter of concussion, because if 50% of the moms in this country understand that 3 or more concussions leads to an exponentially higher rate of Alzheimer's, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, depression. Until they're teenage boys, you can play any sport but not tackle football. To keep a sport alive, it has to be either seen live, which is we're now pricing fans out. I wish we'd save 10,000 seats and distribute them to lower income folk and working folk.
Great idea.
And if the players took a little less, they can. The second thing is that if you don't play the sport live, and so if less people start to play the sport, it's not going to happen tomorrow or in 5 years, but eventually, when I was a kid, boxing was a huge sport, but then parents told their kids, don't box.
Yeah. Leigh Steinberg, and of course, here the party's on Saturday too.
Party. Right? We're raising money for Make-A-Wish Foundation. We give humanitarian awards based on the one I talked about that we'll do in Atlantic City. We also do here, and Stephen Ross and Jamie Roots of the Houston Texans and Brett Veach are getting them. And then we're raising money for Make-A-Wish Foundation. We'll be taking to the game with Chris Cabin and myself. We'll be taking 3 young athletes to the game.
Awesome stuff. Well, it's always great to see you every year here on Radio Row at the Super Bowl 54 in Miami. Leigh Steinberg's been our guest here, and we appreciate you stopping by as always.